Hi everybody, this is the Baseball HUD, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, HUD, and welcome back to another visit to the insane asylum known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha, they're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny fun.
Now, welcome back to the Baseball HUD 3, and hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. This is actually I think it's a very funny story about the icon, emphasis on the con, Craig Carton from WFAN. Now, as you know, in 2017, he was arrested for major financial crimes that stemmed from the fact that he was scamming people out of money through this fake, concert ticket situation. And that's what's considered a white-collar crime. But he made $5.3 million roughly so he can pay off his gambling debt, he says. And I guess the federal government says. And he went to prison and was in prison for a few years. Now, prior to that, once he got arrested, he basically resigned from WFAN, which I think he should not have done. He should have kept the show. He should have been able to go into prison as a host. Still done the host with Boomer and Carton. That would have been great. I mean, wouldn't that have been great? Have Boomer and Carton do the show. Half the show would be done in the prison. That would have been wonderful. Imagine that being done during COVID. Oh, with the mask and everything. And having his cellmate in there with them doing the show with Boomer. Oh, that would have been wonderful. You know. I mentioned that in a previous video. Some guy did not like that. He didn't think it was funny. I think it's hysterical. But he gets out early. He could have spent a long time in prison for these crimes. And he got out early. So he returns to WFAN, I guess in 2020, and they teamed him up with Uneven Evan Roberts. And they had a successful show. Then he quit after 3 years, or 2 years, or whatever it was. So he could do this Fox Sports show, which eventually ran itself 2 times, and basically he was fired. And there's no sort of mincing words on it. He was fired. He was fired by Fox. Now he has on the side, he has a podcast, believe it or not. Everybody has a podcast today. That's what's so difficult about the host dealing with these people. Is that these people, and I feel bad for a lot of the people that watch them. It's tough to compete because they got the name, and then they bring all these big guys. This one, that one. Because what a person like me says. But anyway, I don't care what I say. Please subscribe. So he comes back, but the rumors are he's not going to come back. Then he came back, and all hell broke loose in December. I thank you, Craig Carton, for returning, because you were able to help get this channel really. This channel was only a couple weeks old, and the icon came back, and word came out that he was going to come back, and that's been great for the channel. I got so many subscribers off of this. WFN's great to do videos on because you never know what the hell they're going to say, what the hell they're going to do. But Craig Carton came back, and they put him in the afternoon. Well, apparently, his past still bothers him. I would mention, he is a convicted criminal. White-collar criminal. He's just a non-violent criminal. I want you all to keep this in mind. So he's not necessarily a tough guy. He's just a grifter. Or he was a grifter, supposedly. And as you know, there are some critics in New York. The 2 big critics really that were here for a long time was Bob Raceman of the New York Daily News. And I don't know where he is. I think he's kind of retired. I think he's retired. He used to be on SNY for a while. I guess he's retired now. He doesn't do it anymore. He really was really good. He's the one that gave Chris Russo the Mad Dog nickname. And then there's this other guy, Phil Mushnik, who is let's say he's a dick. He's a jerk. He's not well liked. The media doesn't like him, okay? Especially the personalities on the radio. They don't like him because he's just a mean guy. He's not likable. He doesn't talk to the media at all. He's just a columnist. As far as I know, I don't think I've ever seen him speak in front of a camera. So he's not necessarily the most pleasant or outgoing personality that comes from the papers. But anyway, here's from awful announcing. Craig Carton doesn't like him. Headline, Craig Carton had to be separated from douchebag, quote-unquote, Phil Mushnik. Quote, I'm walking in, and I was going to punch him in the face and had to be separated from him. You're a white-collar criminal, Craigie. You're a white-collar criminal. Not a killer or a psychopath. He's more of a sociopath. Craig Carton was once stopped from punching Phil Mushnik in the face, and it sounds like he'd still like to take his shot. On Friday afternoon, Carton released some pent-up anger during his WFAN radio show co-host Chris McMonagle, a.k.a. the Sector Killer, after a call that referenced Mushnik and the New York Post. Oh, boy. Again, Mushnik is not a guy he's not likable. Right? He's been around for like 35 years critiquing the media, and he is not likable. Nobody likes him. In June of 2024, Carton was the keynote speaker at a banquet honoring recovering compulsive gambler Arnie Wexler, who has long been celebrated for his work as a gambling addiction counselor. Carton is similarly a recovering gambling addict. Oh, you don't say. Not only that, but also a ex-convict. And in his recovery, Carton has worked to bring awareness to the addiction since being released from prison in 2020 after being found guilty of fraud for a ticket-selling scheme that was used to pay gambling debts. According to Carton, he arrived at the banquet and saw Mushnik there. Uh-oh. Quote, I had a real problem that he was at the event because he's not a guy that supports recovery. Carton said of Mushnik at WFAN. Well, if he's at this event, then he's supporting recovery, right? He's not a guy that feels for you when you succumb to an addiction. He has gone after me because I'm an addict. I found it very offensive that he would now show up to an event that I'm the keynote speaker at to honor someone who's a part of my personal recovery. So I'm walking in and I was going to punch him in the face and had to be separated from him because I didn't think he belonged in that room. And not only does he go to the room anyway, I told him he did not belong in that room. It was wrong for him to be there. So he didn't give a shit. He didn't care. And he sat in that room with an evil smirk on his ugly fat face. And a week or two later, he wrote a column attacking me, suggesting my recovery was a scam. I never said a word about it publicly until right now in this moment, but it bothered me to the core. And I would mention, there are people that think that he's faking it, that the reason he said he was an addict is to get leniency on his sentence. That is a suggestion people have said. I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm not necessarily not saying it, but the point is that some people have mentioned this. And he's a guy that lied. Nobody knew that he had this addiction. This is a very quiet thing. And he did lie by getting people to spend money for these concerts that did not take place. Carton said Mushnik has access to his phone number and email, but the New York Post columnist never once contacted him to ask about his bout with gambling, continued recovery, and attempts at helping others who have struggled with the same addiction. Instead of asking about his gambling addiction, Mushnik heard Carton reference a point spread on his since canceled and skadooshed, sent to the Phantom Zone FS1 morning show last year, and used that as fuel to question his recovery. I would mention that Wake Up Barstool is on, and that's taken over for that show. Ooh, it's not much better. Quote, I don't gamble. I don't encourage you to gamble. But part of my job talking sports on TV and on the radio, I have to be aware of the point spread because sports fans are. While I don't encourage anybody to gamble, I acknowledge the spread of a game. I would mention, he works for FanDuel. He failed to mention this. And 24 hours later, he's scathing column that my recovery is bogus. And I'm a fraud when I talk about my recovery. It's so personally offensive to me that a guy that has my number, has my email, saw my speech that night for Arnie Wexler, has the opportunity to talk to me about my recovery and the bad things I did pre-recovery, and instead took one small moment and acknowledged the point spread on a TV show and accused me of lying about my recovery. Again, he works for FanDuel, okay? So he's taking money from a gambling company. Quote, that's the type of scumbag this guy is. And I don't wish bad things on anybody. I don't. I used to. I don't. But if I woke up tomorrow and Phil Mushnik wasn't on this planet, that would be a better day for the planet, because he's an awful, hateful, despicable, angry, small-minded douchebag who does not deserve to breathe the same air that the rest of us breathe. Again, Craigie, you are a convicted criminal. You are a grifter, former grifter. Keep that in mind. Since returning to sports media upon his release from prison in 2020, Carton has been very open about his addiction and recovery. He references his addictions almost daily on WFAN. We also host a weekly show on the topic titled, Hello, My Name is Craig. And if you're going to question his addiction or question how genuine he is in his attempt to erase the stigma around addiction, making a phone call first seems fair. Although, based on these comments, it's hard to imagine Carton taking that phone call from Mushnik. Now, Mushnik, again, I've never heard anybody say anything nice about him. But the idea that Craigie's going to fight him, he's 25 years older than Carton, you know. But again, to mention this, he takes money from FanDuel. He works for them. Okay, he does work for them. So it's not, you know, that's the one thing that's going on in sports, is that the gamblers are around even more now than before. Also would bring up the fact that Greg Giannotti has mentioned the amounts of gambling that goes on at WFAN. I'm not saying this. You can look this on the internet. There's plenty of videos of Greg Giannotti talking about the gambling addictions of several prominent WFAN personalities, not only presently, but in the past. Guys like Chris Russo, guys like John Jastrzemski, guys who gamble a lot, you know. And I'm not making this stuff up. This is stuff that's out there. I mean, the surprise was that he had these kinds of gambling, earnings, or actually losses, that he had to, go to the scam and make him $5 million, you know. Well, anyway, this is what you get when you go to the nervous hospital, you know. This is like the criminally insane. Again, he's a white-collar criminal, a white-collar ex-con, meaning he didn't physically hurt anybody. So the idea he's going to hurt somebody that's 25 years older than him, who's he's a senior in his senior years, it's just insane. But like I said, Phil Mushnik is not a popular guy. He's very disliked amongst the media because he's not a nice guy. He's mean. And he's not funny, you know. You're mean and you're not funny. At least with Raceman, he was funny. And he had some kind of he could talk to you. It doesn't look like Phil Mushnik ever talks to anybody. Just puts out his columns and that's it. But this is what you get. And I would mention, I would mention this, and this is important to remember. He must have hit a chord with Carton. It was more than just, I think he must have hit a real nerve. The lady doubt protests too much, as they say. Well, you let me know what you think about this video, and of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut 3, and again, there's another visit to the insane asylum known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha ha. They're coming to take me away, ho ho, hee hee, ha ha, to the funny fun.